The sun had barely risen over the rolling hills of the Whitmore Ranch when Laura Whitmore stepped onto the balcony of the main house, her silk robe fluttering in the cool morning breeze. As the heiress of one of the largest ranches in Arizona, she carried herself with poise, though the responsibilities of managing such a vast property weighed heavily on her. Her eyes scanned the horizon, restless with the unease that had settled in her chest these past weeks. Rumors had been circulating of bandits planning to raid the Whitmore property. Though Laura had inherited wealth, she had never been naive. She knew that in these parts, greed could turn dangerous, and no amount of money could guarantee safety. "Miss Whitmore," came a voice, low and steady. Laura turned to see Gideon Callahan approaching. The early light catching the rugged features of the cowboy she had reluctantly agreed to hire. His broad shoulders and confident gait spoke of experience, his sharp eyes missing nothing. "I've made the rounds. Everything seems quiet for now, but I'd advise caution." Laura arched an eyebrow, crossing her arms. "I appreciate your concern, Gideon, but do you think these rumors are real, or just the gossip of restless townfolk?" Gideon shrugged, resting a hand on the rail beside her. "Gossip or not, it pays to be ready. I didn't come all the way from Tucson just to sit idle while your family's ranch is at risk." There was a quiet confidence in him that made Laura uneasy in a way she couldn't name. Maybe it was the way he seemed to see more than anyone else, or perhaps the quiet strength in his presence. She had hired him for protection, but the thought of living day to day under his watch stirred feelings she was determined to ignore. "Very well, Gideon. I'll trust your judgment." For now, Laura's lips curved into a faint smile. Gideon tipped his hat, acknowledging her concession. "I'll keep to the shadows, miss. Only step in when absolutely necessary." The day began with mundane routines, checking the livestock, inspecting the fences, and meeting with foremen. Yet Laura found herself stealing glances at Gideon, wondering how one man could carry such calm in the midst of potential danger. As the sun climbed higher, a distant rumble carried on the wind, the faint sound of hooves on the trail approaching fast. Gideon's hand instinctively went to the rifle strapped across his back. Laura's pulse quickened, and in that moment, she realized that the quiet life of the ranch was about to shatter. Gideon's eyes met hers, steady and reassuring. "Stay inside," he said, voice low but commanding. "We might have company sooner than expected." And as the shadows of unknown riders grew closer, Laura's heart raced not just from fear, but from the realization that the man she had hired to guard her might soon be the only one standing between her and danger. The distant thunder of hooves grew louder, shaking the ground beneath the Whitmore Ranch. Laura peered out the window of the main house, her heart pounding. A dust cloud was forming along the trail, and through the haze, figures on horseback could be seen approaching fast. Gideon was already at the door, rifle in hand, his movements calm and precise. "Laura, stay behind me," he ordered. "Keep to the back of the house, and don't come out until I give the word." Laura nodded, gripping the edge of the table as adrenaline coursed through her. She hated feeling so helpless, yet she trusted Gideon completely. He was more than a bodyguard. He was a force of nature, unflinching in the face of danger. The first of the bandits appeared at the edge of the yard, their faces covered with dusty bandanas. Gideon's eyes narrowed, assessing each rider, calculating the risks. Without a word, he slipped out through the side door, moving like a shadow across the property, rifle raised. Laura held her breath, watching him disappear from view. Minutes felt like hours as the bandits rode closer, laughing and shouting over the wind. Then a gunshot rang out. Laura jumped, clutching her chest. A second shot followed, and one of the riders tumbled from his horse. Gideon reappeared, moving swiftly between the attackers and the house, his rifle precise and deadly. Laura felt a mixture of fear and awe. How could one man take on so many and remain so calm? Suddenly, one of the bandits charged toward the veranda, gun raised. Gideon spun, blocking the path, his hand moving to draw his revolver. The clash was swift. Gideon's arm knocked the attacker's weapon aside, and with a practiced movement, he subdued him. Laura rushed to his side, unable to contain herself. "Gideon, are you hurt?" He shook his head, brushing off the dust. "I'm fine. You stayed safe." "I'm fine, thanks to you," she admitted, her voice trembling. She could see the intensity in his eyes, the fire of someone who would never let anyone harm those under his protection. For a moment, their eyes met, and Laura felt a flutter she couldn't ignore. The remaining bandits, seeing their comrades fall, hesitated. Gideon didn't waste a second. He fired another shot into the dirt in front of them, forcing them back. Slowly, they turned their horses and retreated, disappearing into the horizon from which they had come. Laura exhaled deeply, relief washing over her. She wanted to run into Gideon's arms, to feel the safety and warmth of him nearby. But she held back, afraid her emotions would betray her. Gideon turned toward her, lowering his rifle. "The ranch is secure for now, but this won't be the last attempt. They'll be back." Laura swallowed, her mind racing. "Then, I want you to stay, Gideon. Not just tonight, but always." He gave her a small, knowing smile, the corners of his eyes softening. "I'm not going anywhere, Laura. You'll be safe as long as I'm here." And as the sun dipped low in the sky, casting long shadows across the ranch, Laura realized that the danger had forged something new, a bond she hadn't expected, yet couldn't deny. The night after the attack, the Whitmore Ranch lay quiet, the stars twinkling over the sprawling land. Laura stood on the veranda, wrapped in a wool shawl, her thoughts tangled with the events of the day. Gideon sat nearby, sharpening his knife by the firelight, the steady rhythm of his work oddly comforting. "I still can't believe they came so close," Laura said softly, breaking the silence. I never thought anyone would dare attack the ranch like that." Gideon didn't look up immediately, his focus on the blade. "In these parts, trouble has a way of finding those with wealth and land. You can't let fear rule you, Laura. You've got to be ready for whatever comes." She turned her gaze to him, taking in the strong lines of his face and the calm determination in his eyes. Despite the danger, she felt safer just being near him. "You make it sound so easy," she admitted, with a faint smile. Gideon finally looked up, his eyes meeting hers. There was an intensity there that made her pulse quicken. "It's not easy, but I've done this long enough to know how to protect what matters," he said, his voice low yet firm. Laura's cheeks warmed. She wanted to reach out, to touch his hand, but something held her back, a combination of propriety and the fear of her own growing feelings. Yet Gideon seemed to sense her thoughts. Without a word, he slid closer, the firelight casting shadows across his rugged features. "You've been alone, managing this ranch for a long time, haven't you?" he asked gently. Laura nodded, looking down at her hands. "Since my parents passed, it's been difficult. Lonely sometimes. And now with bandits coming, I feel more vulnerable than ever." Gideon's expression softened. "You're not alone anymore, Laura. I'm here, and I'm not leaving." Something in the way he said it made her heart skip a beat. She wanted to lean into him, to rest her head against his shoulder, but she waited, letting the moment linger. Her feelings slowly surfacing. For the first time since she had arrived at the ranch, Laura felt a sense of warmth she hadn't known she was missing. Gideon's presence wasn't just protective, it was grounding, comforting, and stirring emotions she hadn't expected to feel for anyone outside her family. They sat in silence for a while, the crackle of the fire filling the space between them. Then Gideon spoke again, softer this time. "You're stronger than you think, Laura, and braver than most. Don't forget that." Laura smiled, a genuine smile that reached her eyes. "I guess I needed to hear that. From someone who truly knows the truth about me." Gideon's gaze lingered on her, and in that moment, Laura felt a connection deeper than words, a promise of loyalty, protection, and something more that neither dared speak aloud yet. As the night grew colder, Gideon draped a blanket around her shoulders without asking. his hand brushing lightly against hers. Laura felt the spark, subtle yet undeniable, and she realized that what had begun as reliance on a protector was now evolving into something far more intimate. And under the vast expanse of the desert sky, both knew that the bond forming between them would carry them through the dangers still looming on the horizon. The dawn broke with a fiery glow over the Whitmore Ranch, but the beauty of the morning did little to calm Laura's nerves. From her bedroom window, she spotted distant dust clouds rising on the horizon, unmistakable sign that the bandits had returned. This time in greater numbers. Gideon was already outside, moving with purpose. His horse pawed the ground as he checked the perimeter. "Laura, stay inside and don't leave the house," he called through the open window. "We'll get through this, but I need you out of harm's way." Laura nodded, though a flicker of frustration crossed her face. She wanted to fight beside him, not remain hidden. But the trust she had in Gideon was absolute, and she knew his judgment was sound. The bandits charged across the plains, their shouts echoing through the valley. Gideon met them at the edge of the property, rifle and revolver ready. Laura watched, heart pounding, as he moved with lethal precision, taking down attackers one by one. His movements were a blend of strength and grace, every shot calculated, every maneuver decisive. Her eyes followed him, and a wave of admiration mixed with something deeper surged within her. She had never felt this drawn to anyone before, yet Gideon stirred something in her she could no longer deny. She realized that danger, when faced together, had a way of breaking barriers. Suddenly, one of the bandits found a path to the house, heading straight for the veranda where Laura had been moments ago. Gideon's eyes narrowed. Without hesitation, he sprinted back, pulling Laura to her feet and ushering her behind the thick oak door. Bullets splintered wood around them as he returned fire, shielding her with his body. "Gideon," Laura cried, her voice trembling with fear and something else, relief that he was still there. "I've got you, Laura, always," he replied, his voice calm despite the chaos. The firefight seemed to stretch endlessly, but Gideon's skill and strategy slowly turned the tide. The remaining bandits faltered, realizing they were outmatched. One by one, they retreated, leaving behind dust, hoofprints, and broken pride. After the last rider disappeared into the distance, silence fell over the ranch. Laura emerged from behind the door, her legs unsteady. She found Gideon leaning against the railing, wiping sweat and dust from his brow, his rifle still in hand. She rushed to him, throwing her arms around him without a second thought. "I was so afraid I'd lose you," she whispered. Gideon held her tightly, resting his chin on her shoulder. "You won't," he murmured. "As long as I'm here, nothing will touch you." Laura pulled back slightly, gazing into his eyes. The danger of the morning giving way to raw emotion. "Gideon, I don't just need you to protect me anymore. I want you with me, always." He smiled, a rare softness breaking through his rugged exterior. "Laura, I've been hoping you'd say that. I'm not going anywhere. Not now, not ever." The tension of the siege melted into a profound closeness between them. For the first time, Laura understood that Gideon was more than a protector. He was her anchor, her courage, and the man she was falling in love with. As the sun set over the ranch, painting the sky in shades of gold and crimson, Laura and Gideon stood together, ready to face whatever the world might throw at them, side by side. The morning after the siege, the Whitmore Ranch was quiet, bathed in golden sunlight. Birds sang across the fields, and the distant mountains glowed with soft warmth. For the first time in weeks, Laura felt a sense of peace. The bandits were gone, the ranch secure, and Gideon stood beside her, ever vigilant, yet relaxed enough to share the rare, quiet moment. Laura walked alongside him, their fingers brushing occasionally, sending small sparks through her. She felt the weight of the past days, the fear, the adrenaline, the closeness. Now the growing realization that her heart had chosen him long before her mind had admitted it. "Gideon," she said softly, stopping to look into his eyes. "I don't just want your protection. I want you, here, with me, for the rest of my life." Gideon's expression softened, a rare vulnerability showing through his rugged exterior. He took her hands in his, their warmth grounding them both. "Laura, I've been waiting to hear you say that. I'm not leaving. Not the ranch, not you, not ever." Tears pricked at Laura's eyes, but they were tears of joy. She reached up, brushing a strand of hair from his face, feeling the calluses on his hands, a reminder of the life he had led, the strength he carried, and the loyalty he had shown her. The two stood together in silence, letting the moments settle around them. Birds flew overhead, and the gentle breeze whispered through the tall grass. For the first time, Laura didn't feel the weight of her responsibilities pressing down. She had Gideon, the man she loved, standing by her side. Over the next days, they worked together, repairing fences, tending to the livestock, and fortifying the ranch. But now, it wasn't just duty, it was shared life. Each laugh, each shared glance, each touch became a thread, weaving them closer together. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in shades of amber and rose, Gideon led Laura to the veranda. He knelt on one knee, reaching into his coat pocket. Laura's breath caught. "Laura Whitmore," he began, voice steady and full of emotion. "You've trusted me with your safety, your heart, and your life. I want to spend the rest of mine making you happy. Will you marry me?" Laura's hands flew to her mouth, her heart swelling. "Yes, Gideon, yes." He rose, slipping a simple but elegant ring onto her finger, and pulled her close, their lips meeting in a kiss that held all the passion, relief, and love of the past weeks. The ranch around them seemed to sigh in approval, the land itself bearing witness to their bond. From that day on, Laura and Gideon faced the world together. The Whitmore Ranch thrived under their combined care, and no threat, bandit, storm, or otherwise, could break the partnership they had forged. Laura had inherited wealth and land, but she had also found love, loyalty, and a life richer than she had ever imagined. And with Gideon by her side, she knew that whatever the horizon held, they would face it together, their hearts and hands forever intertwined. As the stars appeared over the desert sky that night, Laura rested her head on Gideon's shoulder, knowing that their legacy was safe, enduring, and unbreakable. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more Western stories.